uncut, unedited. All right, people, this is where we tell the truth
And
and
shame
shame
the
the
devil.
devil. All right, we coming in. I promise you, we had technical difficulties, people. So that's what happened. We tried to be on time. We had definitely technical difficulties. So we need you guys to come on in. Make sure you share the video. Make sure you share the video on your page. Please do that. That would be great. That definitely would be great. Come on in. Come on in. Also, we'll be taking calls if you need to talk, explain some things broke down to you. And we're gonna put some things on the screen as well. The flyer on the screen. So come on in, people. Live, uncut, unedited. I told you we was coming. I told you. Y'all didn't believe me. We coming. Billy Kinslow, I see you. Second time we back tonight. Shirley, I see you. We're back. All right. Come on back. Come on, people. Come on in. Yeah, Mark. All right. Let me bring that screen in. Others. Yep. Let's see how it's looking. Come on in. We got a screen up. Let me see if I can bring this flyer up. Hold on, people. Bring it up where we can see it. All right, Mark. We're gonna get ready to get started. I need to put that screen up a little better than that, where we can see it. Okay, Mark. If you want to, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
I could adjust the screen while you're talking. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, Martin. Listen, thank you very much for having it again. I'm really excited to be back for a second time on your stream and with your audience. Good evening to each and every one of you. I know the last time that we were on, we were talking about all kinds of issues that are important to our community that we've been neglected politically, equitably, from education all the way to economics and everything in between. And so, on our last conversation that we had, I talked about how we need to institutionalize our political strength and our political power.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there are people who say to us that, we are an organized group and we're unified, but we're really not unified. Being unified is having your own union type unification, where we're all on the same page across all of our ward lines and district lines. Now, in order to have political power, one, you have to be organized. You either have to have a lot of money or you have to have a lot of votes. One of the two. We, as a community of people, we don't have billions of dollars to control political power or to influence political power. And while money may be an important source, it is not the important source. The most important source is having the votes. Because while one person can write a big check, like J.B. Pritzker, who is a multi billionaire, or people like Ken Griffin, who are billionaires, um, these are people who try to push and control political power because they have checks that they can essentially buy people off. But what we do have as a Black community in the city of Chicago, the county of Cook, and the state of Illinois we have a lot of votes. Any citywide, any countywide, or any statewide election, politicians always and candidates always come to the Black community because no one running for any political office, citywide, countywide, or statewide, can win an election without gaining a majority of the Black vote.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been loyal to voting for certain candidates, and we have put a lot of people in office. We put more than 190 Black people into political office, which is important. And we need to have people who look like us, but we also need to have people who are going to respond to us. So, in our last conversation that we had, I talked about how we could build a mass voting block.
That's right.
10 by 10 to win is that arm and that umbrella that all of the issues that are important to our communities, education, health, whatever it may be. And if you see on the flyer that is posted on your page, I have noted that we are mobilizing to unionize the Black vote to institutionalize real political power in Illinois once and for all. And that is so that we select and we elect Black public officials who we want, whether it be the mayor, whether it be the governor, whether it be aldermen, state representatives, state senators, senators, Congress men and women, commissioners, and so forth and so on. And why do we do that? We are going to do that so that we can ensure that our political power. Something happened in my screen.
Okay, I see you. Okay.
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 All right. So, so we want to ensure all of those areas that are important to our community, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's Black businesses getting governmental contracts and we're getting our fair equity of that. If you have a business that that you want to appropriate or that you want to conduct with the city of Chicago, the county of Cook, or even the community where you live. Maybe you live in Markham, or maybe you live in Matheson or Oak Park, or maybe you live in Dalton. Wherever you live, whatever community we live in, the point is to make sure that our businesses, people who have businesses, are fairly represented. People who want good paying jobs are fairly represented, that we have our fair equity. The only way you make that happen is that you have to be a political force. And then the only way that you are a political force is you have to have numbers, and those numbers have to be organized. They can't be all over the place. So the first thing that we have to do, we know the issues. We know how important the issues are. And everybody's issue is important. And as we organize, there will be people within our union of voters that have the expertise to lead us on education, to lead us on housing, to lead us on crime. So we have all of these different tiers that we are unified to make demands and to make sure that those demands are met. But the only way that we could do that is that we have to have the power to elect people to public office.
That's true.
So we can build the strongest unified black political force of a block by doing it 10 by 10. What do I mean by that? Every one of us that are that's here tonight, every person that's here tonight knows at least 10 people that they can go to that will trust them. Would that be a fair
Yeah.
statement? So everybody would do that. So if we started with 10 people and each one of us went out and got 10 people and we brought 10 people in, we now have 100 people. That's just one time over. A second time, if we took that same 100 people, went out and got 10 more people, then we now have 1,000 people. We've only done it twice and we've already brought forth 1,000 people. There are sometimes you have 1,000 people in your
Mm-hmm.
audience. And if that 1,000 people went and got 10 people, we now have 10,000
Right.
people. 3 times over. If we did it a fourth time, the 10,000 people went out and contacted 10 people that they know, we have 100,000 people. And if we did it one more time, which would be 5 times, the 100,000 went out and got 10 people to come in. We now have 1 million voters.
Mark, question, real quick. What I see somebody wrote in the comments of voting is not going to get us nowhere. Now, people, we got a decision to make. Now, either we're going to sit down and watch our politicians, elected politicians, make decisions for us, and we just don't say anything, nothing. So there's because you may deem it be crooked, and it may be crooked, but we cannot sit still. We can't afford, Mark and the audience, to sit still and don't do nothing, people. Nothing. Politicians make decisions for our lives. I'm telling you, people, whether you want to believe it or not. If you don't want to participate in the voting policy, I understand. But we're looking for people that's ready as a pack. Mark and myself, we can't do it by ourselves. We need everybody participation on this. The brother is giving us a remedy, and all we have to do is work together and stick together. We got to make it happen. Go ahead, Mark. I'm saying we just have to make it happen.
So I understand the frustration of
Right.
people. I understand the frustration of people, but let's be very clear. If voting was not important and if voting didn't get us anywhere, there would be fewer people spending billions and billions of dollars to get elected to public offices of power. We have a governor who is a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, who is the governor of the state of Illinois, who ran for governor. He could be doing a whole lot of other things, but he ran for governor because they want to impact public policy. So the notion that voting does not get us anywhere, maybe it is not that voting doesn't get us anywhere. It is how we have utilized our vote and how our vote has been fractionized. What I am saying and what we have to do differently about our voting, and we have to bring our voting together ourselves, and then we vote in a block. When we bring those numbers together, even organizing those numbers, we have to stop voting the way that we have been voting, meaning that they throw candidates at us or they put candidates up in front of us, and then they tell us these are the candidates that you have to choose from. Maybe those candidates may be good candidates, maybe they're not good candidates, but we're not going to, if we do this the right way, we're not going to attach ourselves to any candidate. The first thing that we have to do is to organize ourselves. and not to have a not to have a pessimistic view of it without organizing ourselves. This is why unions are extraordinarily powerful and they're able to get what they want, is because unions move uniformly. They move together. They unions decide to strike, they strike together. They move together, whichever direction they go, which is why they have power. And all a union is a mass number of people that are advocating for the same thing. They either thrive together or they're going to suffer together. Just like you see the UAW workers striking, they're striking and they're making a sacrifice, but they're making a unified sacrifice so that all members are get their fair share. So there has to be some sacrifice, but it has to be a unified sacrifice, a unified commitment. Now, I contend that if we don't unify, if we don't build a voting block of us together, if we don't do that, then that person who made that comment, not that your vote doesn't get us anywhere, it would only get us incrementally places. It is important to participate in the voting process. But what I am suggesting that we do, and what I am saying that we have to do, is to make our vote count and make our vote respond to us, to our communities better, so that we can make demands of making sure that there is the kinds of investment in our public school sector that all of our public schools in Black communities look and are resourced just like they are resourced in the suburban communities, or just like you have Walter Payton, which is a selective enrollment school, highly resourced, or you have the um, the other school out, and I can't think of the
Whitney
name of it.
Young.
Whitney Young, you know, highly resourced, and they're able to provide great educations. All of our schools can be resourced that way, but it is going to be up to us to do that. They are not going to do this as long as we are fractionized.
Mm-hmm.
We have the numbers, but our numbers are fractionized. We don't have enough of our numbers together where we are independent to say to people, even now, who are in elected office, because we have an election that's coming up in 2024. If we organize ourselves now and they see that we are organized and that they see that we have numbers, let's say in Chicago, in the Black wards where we are. So the Black wards in the city of Chicago would be the 4th ward, the 5th ward, the 6th ward, the 7th ward, the 9th ward. We're heavily populated in the 10th ward, the 35th ward, the 24th ward, the 27th ward. That we're, let's say, the 16th ward, the 17th ward. So the 20th ward, the 21st. So let's say through all of those wards that we went out and we got 10,000 voters to be a part of the block in all of the wards in the city. And we did the same thing in the wards or in the suburbs where we live largely in Dalton, Lansing, um, Hazel Crest, Country Club Hills, Robbins, um,
Harvey.
Calumet City, Harvey, Phoenix, Robbins,
Mm.
all of these communities where we live, that we went out and made sure that we got at least 10,000 people to be a part of the 10 by 10 to win voting block. And we're all together.
Mark,
Yes.
real quick, a young lady she put on here told me to ask you about lobbying. So she let me see what that question she wanted to know. We have to pay off, stop going around that we have to pay off sellouts, corrupt politicians. She put on here some excellent about lobbyists. And let's see, let me put it up here. She wanted to know about ask him about the power of lobbying groups so we can pay exactly for what we want. So that's
The
what she
power,
wants. Go ahead.
again, the power of lobbying. When we put ourselves together, when we come together as this block, that gives us lobbying power. Remember, you either have to have a lot of money or you have to have a lot of votes, which means you have to have a lot of people. In this case, we're building a lot of people. And as we strengthen ourselves in numbers, it gives us lobbying power. So if we have 100,000 or 200,000 people in our, and I'm calling it a union, but in our block, that gives us the power to have whoever we have as committee chairs of education, committee chairs of police reform, committee chairs of housing, committee chairs of finance, whatever those areas, we now have the power to send people to lobby for those issues that are important to our communities. With real numbers, we strengthen the lobbies. We strengthen our power to lobby and to send representatives from the block that is lobbying our politicians and not asking them, but demanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we go and we negotiate, we make our demands. If they don't deliver to us, guess what we have the power to do? We have the numbers now to elect somebody else. We have the numbers to say to any representative in any ward or any district, we have enough votes in that district to make sure that you are not reelected in the next
Mm-hmm.
election. When you exercise that kind of power, you gain respect across the board from politicians, whether it's a mayor, a governor. I can't emphasize it enough that if we were to unify and organize ourselves in mass numbers, we would be receiving phone calls for politicians wanting to meet with us, wanting to come and present to us because they now know we have the strength and the organization to determine their political position and their political future. That is what it is. Again, you either need a lot of money or you need a lot of votes.
Mark, quick question.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit off the topic. So are Republicans and Democrats welcome or just independents or anybody? I know it was black for us, so want to ask that question.
We are building a block of all black people. Whatever your
Okay.
label is,
Okay.
whether you call yourself a Republican or you call yourself an independent or you call yourself a Democrat. What I'm saying that we need to do is to bring us all together.
Thank you.
Let's build
Yeah.
the block, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever label you fly under. Let's build the block so we strengthen our voice so that we can say to Democrats and Republicans, you don't deliver for us, we don't deliver you. All of them are on the table. Whatever their labels are. We don't want to get hung up in labels. The label here is, again, we're not anti anybody. We're not being anti white folks. We're not being anti Hispanic folks, Muslims, or whatever. We are simply saying, as Black people, we have to strengthen ourselves so that we can strengthen our communities.
Mm-hmm.
It is either we're sincere about wanting to change our community or we're not. If we're not willing to organize, if we don't want to organize, then what we're really saying is that we're okay with the status quo, which we know we're not. We're not okay with it. There's not a single one of us are okay with what our communities look like as a whole. We're not satisfied with that. But the only way that we're going to change that is that we've got to organize ourselves to change that. We have Black politicians, we have white politicians, we have Hispanic politicians, we have a few Asian politicians. But just speaking of the Black politicians, because we've elected them, they're in those offices because we put them there. They got enough of our fractionized votes to go to office. But what happens is we don't have the institutionalized organization that puts all of them in a position to respect our community collectively.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is they pander and do some things individually for individuals. But Black folks individually have done well all along. Even in slavery, Blacks did well because you had the house slave that lived inside, the slave master's home, wore the nice clothes, slept in a nice clean bed, though still a slave, but they were doing better than the field slave. So my point is that not that we're glorifying slavery, we're just showing you that when we start looking at things individually, there are Black people who are doing very well individually all across the board, but collectively, we're not doing well. Collectively, our communities are suffering. And they're suffering from neglect. They're not, other communities are thriving, but our communities are not. And we have the power, meaning we have the numbers to make this happen, but we don't have the organized or the organization of those numbers in the way that we need to be organized to make that happen in a much more impactful way.
I have a question. A lot of us, I would kind of put myself in the category too, are politically illiterate, if I may say that. We don't know anything. We start trying to do our homework the day of the election. People hand out these little palm cards. We don't know. We haven't done the research on these candidates and stuff like that. So I think with the 10 by 10, also you guys can educate those of us that don't know. And a lot of us, we don't know how important our vote is. We just can't see it. A lot of us, I meet people from all walks of life, Mark. They don't see no need to vote. They're intelligent people, smart, but they figure like it don't work. It ain't gonna stop me from getting my money. That's what I hear out here. So we have to change that mindset, people. If we want power, this is how we have to get power, to unite. That's what Brother Mark is trying to do it. It have worked in the past. We're going to bring it back so it can work even more powerful. We're going to refine it. That's what we're doing. And we need you guys' participation. We need your body. We need your help because we can't do it all by ourselves. Now, we complained about the migrants. Now, if we had a pack maybe we could put some pressure on our political leaders and say, hey, let's end the sanctuary city right now. We might be able to do that. But if we all divided, we over here and over there, just can't do. Just an example. Just an example. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. What we're doing, Martin, is we're really putting it to the test to see if people really want to organize. I mean, this cannot happen without there being a collective body of people who are saying that I understand the way all of we've had done in the past, right?
Mhm.
It hasn't really made real progress. Although we've made some progress, it hasn't really made the significant progress that we can really measure and see. Um, so, what we're saying is, with all of that being the case, let's say and agree to do differently. Let's institutionalize our power because we've exercised our power institutionally a few times, but we have not institutionalized our power. When we do that, we have plenty of people who will be a part of the pack. If we were to build the numbers like we're envisioning, there are plenty of people who are much more politically astute than myself. And there's an old saying that says that two heads is always better than one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And the more heads that we have together, everybody has something to offer. You don't have to know it all. There's no such thing as a know it all, right? There's no such thing as a know it all. But what there is when we're all together, we can get whatever it is that we don't have from within our group. I mean, this has to be a wide tent. This has to be a wide tent, but it has to start. It has to start with people. This can only happen if the people want it to happen. If the people really want to make change, this is the only way that we are going to make significant change. Now, you can go back and we can continue to go back to our little spaces where we are and continue to work on the things that are important to us individually as we have been, and continue to fight to try to make some incremental changes in areas. And I'm sure that we will do that. But if we really want to change the landscape, if we want to change the landscape and to make sure that we are respected like we ought to be respected by the entire political apparatus, whether they're black, whether they're white, whether they're male, whether they're female, whatever their position is, the only way that that can happen is we have to build our own force, our own block.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just complain. We can't just call people names and want to be pessimistic. None of that is going to bring about the change. We have to have a positive outlook on it. And we have to have a commitment to say, I'm on board and I'm going to bring more people on board. Let's try this. Everything else has only gotten us so far, has
Mm-hmm.
only gotten us incremental progress. We've made progress. We just haven't made the significant progress. Unfortunately, other communities, just about every other community, has advanced itself in Chicago, and our communities, they're turning the clock back. That's
Mm-hmm.
happened politically by policy.
Mm-hmm.
And those policies are being put in place by people who happen to be politicians who happen to have these political offices that somebody voted for.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that voting doesn't matter Of course it does, because those people that are making policies that we have to adhere to, somebody voted for them. We need to have the power to put those people on notice. And the only way that we have the power is that we bring a bunch of us together, that we are united. That is it, plain and simple. If we don't do it, then we'll continue doing what we're doing. If we do it, we're going to change the landscape.
Yeah. So you saying united we stand, divided we fall. Divided.
Well,
We
let me put this out here, and there's not a lot of people who have really understand this. This is going to be news to some people, and it's going to shock some people. Do you know that there is not a single white poor neighborhood in the city of Chicago?
Hmm.
Not one.
I won. I said that.
The area of Hegridge, southeast, it used to be many years ago, 50 years ago, it used to be one of the areas of where poor whites lived. There's not a single poor white community in the city of Chicago.
Mm.
And there should not be. But there also should not be a poor black community in Chicago. But unfortunately, we have too many. We have too much inequity. We have lost thousands and thousands of homes in the Inglewood area that Norfolk Fork Railroad has
Mm-hmm.
purchased all of those lands, and there has been no demand for them to reinvest in Inglewood. I drive through Inglewood and see blocks of vacant lots that used to be homes where our people lived.
And I think the alderman wrote off on that too. He went to
Absolutely.
jail. Yeah.
Now, you have Inglewood is represented by 6 aldermen.
Mm.
They share Inglewood because of the way that the districts are connected.
Right.
So every community has advanced in Chicago. Our communities have regressed in many ways, whether it's education. Who ever heard of closing 50 public schools?
Mm.
But those schools were all closed in our communities. And we couldn't stop it. You know why we couldn't stop it? Because they knew, the people who made those decisions, they know that we might jump up and down and scream for about 15 minutes or
Make
so.
some noise.
We
Yeah.
may make some noise about it, but we're not organized enough to make them pay for the bad decisions that they make.
Mm-hmm.
When people make bad decisions who are in public office, they need to pay a price. They need to pay a price for it. And paying a price for it means that we're no longer going to allow for you to be in an office that you make policies that are antithetical to our communities
Mm-hmm.
and to the policies of our communities from thriving. And as taxpayers, we're still going to pay you. We're still going to send you back to a public office, and you're not delivering for us. So what I'm saying is, we will be able to have strong lobbying groups if we build this pact. Again, you either need a lot of votes or you need a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money collectively.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us individually are doing fine, but we don't have the political dollars to compete with a J.B. Pritzker or a Ken Griffin, or a Dan Proft, these people who have billions of dollars. We don't have that kind of money. But what we do have, which is more powerful than a big check, is a lot of votes. And I guarantee you that if we were to collectively do this, everybody will see, everybody will see their power, because every voice is important. But unfortunately, we're going in too many different directions in terms of amassing our power. Now, we need, because there are issues that are important to people who people are well versed at, whether it be education. We have people who are brilliant, who understand education and understand the needs of education. We have people in areas of healthcare. We have people in areas of housing. We have people in areas of, contracts, or whatever the issues are, or whatever the area of government is. We have people in our communities who are well versed in those areas, all of the social areas, mental health, all of those areas that are important. We have people within the Black community individually who are well versed in those areas. What we're saying is, let's build ourselves a unified block so that we can support all of those areas of importance, from education to healthcare to mental health to economics. We can then impact those areas. We can make the kinds of advancements that we want to see happening in areas like Inglewood, areas like the West Side, the South Side, the South suburbs. We have a South suburban airport that we've been trying to get built for more than 30 years now. 30 years. 90% of the land is acquired. We have $163 million that is appropriated to build the interchanges on the southern area that connects all of our communities. But Governor J.B. Pritzker is moving very slow. Why is he moving slow? Because there's no unified pressure on him. There's no pressure from our communities for him to deliver what would be transformational to the Black community. The South Suburban Airport will impact more than 200,000 jobs over the next 20 years, where at every skill level, from labor to IT, whatever area, at O'Hare Airport. Imagine what the city of Chicago would be like if we didn't have O'Hare Airport. O'Hare Airport employs more than 43,000 people within the airport. There are another 300,000 jobs in businesses and entities and companies in the surrounding areas as a result of the airport. An airport is the biggest progenitor of jobs. We're talking about where people can go and start a career and retire from there. They can earn a good living. They can buy a home, buy a car, take their family on vacation, send their children to school. This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about transformational change. It will also stimulate the advanced manufacturing. In the 1950s, in the 1960s, and the 1970s in Chicago, 70% of all Black employment in Chicago was in labor. You could come out of high school and go into a manufacturing company and get a full-time, good-paying job that was only 15 minutes from your home. In the Black community, we have the longest commute than any other community to go to work. Than any other community. The Black community in the city of Chicago. This is not all by accident. This has been produced by people who are writing policy. and it's been voted on by people who look like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And because we are not unified in a way that we have the strength to say to people, even to be a threat, even to be a threat, we don't have to wait to an election. We can organize and have a mass number of people, and we can impact public policy right now.
Mm. Let me ask you a question real quick.
Not in 2024.
Let me ask you a question. Now, the union that helped push Brandon in. What's your take on that union? They powerful, aren't they? They organized.
They're very organized. And I have no problem with the Chicago Teachers Union. And I employ people who are with us tonight. The Chicago Teachers Union are not our problem. What we need to do is follow the model of the Chicago Teachers Union. Do you realize that they have money, but you know why they have money? Because the teachers contribute to the union. But you know how many people are in the Chicago Teachers Union? There's only about 25,000. There's only about 25,000 members in the Chicago Teachers Union. And I applaud them. I'm a Stacey Davis Gates fan, personally. I'm a Stacey Davis Gates fan. I'm a Tara Stamps fan. I support these two brilliant black women. We have a lot more brilliant black women, and we have a lot more brilliance within our community. What I am saying is, let us be our own political union.
Mm-hmm.
There are a whole lot more of us to build a much bigger and just as powerful union as the Chicago Teachers Union. Let's duplicate that example. Not be against it, but let's duplicate that so that we can get what it is that our communities want for our children, for our seniors, for our people who need mental health, for our men and women who have made some bad decisions and have some marks on their name. They deserve an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve another chance. God gives us another chance every day.
Every day.
He is not, I'm not trying to proselytize to anybody, but he is not a God of a second chance or a third chance or a fourth. He's the God of another chance every single day. And every man and every woman in our community, let's provide the kind of support so that we could have a stabilized, economically stabilized community where we don't have to worry about people breaking into our homes, carjacking our cars, or our young people taking and getting involved in this high risk activity, and we can prevent them from doing that. The way that happens is through strength. It is through strength. That's the way that happens. We have 47% unemployment in black males between the ages of 18 to 25 in Chicago. So their white male counterparts at 7%. That, in my judgment, is criminal.
That's criminal. And
that is a disparity that shouldn't be. In Chicago, black people have 1 cent to every dollar that the average white person has in Chicago. In Chicago. That's not because we're less talented. That's because we have less equity. But if we are just going to spend our time talking about those things and complaining about those things and saying what we can and can't do, or what we can't do, and we're not organizing ourselves to change those conditions, really, it's shame on us. because we have the numbers to do it. We have the numbers to do it. And again, everybody that is in this conversation tonight has the ability to impact real change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only suggesting that we do this. So, what I have done in our last conversation, I said that I would locate a location that we could have a meeting to see just how committed we really want to be to do this. So I contacted um, a friend of mine, Pastor A. Edward Davis, who is the pastor of St. John's Missionary Baptist Church at 211 East 115th Street. Asked him if he would allow us to use their facility. He is providing their fellowship hall that will hold up to 200 people, 250 people. I would love to see us fill that place up because what that will do is it will send us all a message of, are we ready to organize ourselves differently than we have been in the past? Are we ready to do this? Or are we going to still just continue to do the status quo that we've been doing, and we just go back to our silos and ensure people are working individually on things that are important to them? Or are we going to amass ourselves together and strengthen our voice?
That's right. That's right.
So on October the 12th, we're going to have that meeting, Martin, there. And we're asking everybody here to reach out to people within your network and bring them to the meeting. And let's start organizing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the meeting, we all know the issues, right? And there are some people who know the issues from A to Z.
A to Z.
Right? They know, we have somebody who knows about all of the issues that are important. That's not the important thing right now, because we know that we have the brain power. We know that we have the information. What we don't have is the unity. Right? We talk about unity all the time in our individual circles. We talk about unity. I go to the store, I sit around and talk to people, and in 15 or 20 minutes, somebody's going to say, Black people need to unify. I hear that at least 2 or 3 times a day. Black people need to unify. Okay, let's unify.
Let's unify. That's right. Here's the time.
Right? Let's do it. And guess what happens when even the people who may be a little bit apprehensive, when they see a large crowd gathering, guess what happens with the people who are standing on the sideline? They're curious, right? They want to come and be with the crowd. I learned mobilization through a man who taught mobilization. And if you ever go, many of us have been to a nightclub. If you go to nightclubs do not build big, huge dance floors. Have you ever gone to a nightclub and you notice that the dance floor is a small dance floor? Well, there's a science behind that. They realize that if you build a big dance floor, nobody's going to go dance because most people don't want to be the first one out. So what will happen is 1 or 2 people will go out and dance, and once 1 or 2 people go out and dance, then another couple will join, and then a few more will join. And before you know it, there's not enough room on the dance floor to hold all of the people, because that's what we are.
I got a question. I want to say something. I know it's never been done. I want us to push for this. I want us to be able to push for all Black caucuses on the national level, federal level, local level. If we can put pressure on them, put them all in one room and have a meeting with us, make it happen. I don't care if we got to plan it 6 months in advance. I want to see that happen because it needs to happen, Mark.
Well, let me just say this to you. This is also going to shock you. We have a city of Chicago Black Caucus,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a state of the Illinois Black Caucus. Do you know that there has never been a single time, not one, that all of the members of the Black Caucus have ever met at the same time? Never.
I know that. Yeah.
Never.
Never.
So, whatever you ask for, we can make it happen if we build the block, because they will respond to numbers.
Yes,
Politicians respond to numbers.
That's
They
it.
count votes. That's what they do. They count votes. They look and see who voted in the last election. They send their materials to those people who voted in the last election. That's what politicians do. Well, guess what? Let us do some counting. Let's bring ourselves together and let them count us. Let them see us together across all of our ward lines, across our community lines. City of Chicago, Hazel Crest, all of the suburbs where we live, all of the wards where we live. We're talking about building Black political power, not being anti anybody. We're just being pro our communities, because we're being neglected by Black politicians as well as white politicians. So they're all in the same pool. We have to get into the same boat so that we can strengthen ourselves to move that bus forward. You know, Martin, if your car breaks down and you try to push that car yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to push it by yourself. But you get 2 or 3 more people to push it, the job becomes a lot easier.
That's correct.
The same method. The job is easier when the more of us together pushing these people who we have in political office. They may be very nice people, but they're responding to the people
at the end of the day
who are giving them the most pressure.
And money too.
Well, we don't have a lot of money.
Right. But
I guarantee you they will respond to the people who have the most votes rather than the person who writes the biggest check. Right now, they're responding to the people who have the biggest check. There are people who are writing checks to the people that we vote for in our wards, in our state districts, in our congressional districts that don't even live there. And those people are legislating on behalf of the people who are writing them checks. And we're the people who are voting for them that put them into office. Because that person can just write them a check to campaign with. We're the ones who ultimately have to go into the voting booth. So we should be the ones who are selecting the candidate. That's why I say we do the selecting and we do the electing. You put a lot of numbers together, you put a lot of votes together, it neutralizes big checks.
Yeah, let me say this too, Mark. For those of you out there that don't believe in the voting block, believe voting don't work, why is it the J.B. Pritzkers and all these politicians come in our community and spend millions of dollars for the Black vote? We see it all the time. They have guys putting signs out, going knocking on doors, doing petitions. Even Willie Wilson himself spent a lot of money. He spent millions of dollars.
Willie Wilson spent to not get elected. Willie Wilson spent, wherever the money came from, he spent more than $13 million to not get elected. Here in Chicago, I think in 2 different elections. In this last election, he spent $6 million. So let me just re-emphasize to everyone, the Black vote is a critical vote. Unfortunately, we have allowed for people to
Mhm.
disrespect our vote. And
Mhm.
and not only have they disrespected our vote, they fractionized our vote to benefit them. But we have to take control and we have to take better care of our own vote. We have to take control of it.
It's power, people. Power. We need power.
That's where it is. So, again, this is not about me and it's not about Martin. It is about all of us.
Mhm.
It's either we all come together and do it, or we will continue as a people to suffer. Some of us will do very well. Some of us earn a good living, have a good home, and all of that. But I contend that none of us can be really free and really enjoy life when we know that there are people in our communities suffering. I put a lot of miles on in our community. I have more than 240,000 miles on my car,
Mm.
and that's all local. It's not traveling. That means that I drive around and I see the difference in our communities and other people's communities. I want to see the day that we don't have a bunch of vacant buildings, vacant stores, um, people saying, I don't go down 79th Street because it's dangerous. Our communities are the only communities that people say that in.
Right. I got a question, Mark, and it's still on the same subject. I know we're going to end in a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Take Chinatown. Now, you don't have a lot of Asians in the political thing, but they have power. They have resources and things like that. They're thriving. They're expanding out of the 22nd Street. They're expanding all around them. I mean, what's really good? What's up with that? I mean,
Well, I'll tell you. Let me answer your question.
come on.
Let me answer your question. When you go in Chinatown and all of the stores, who are operating their stores?
They are.
Chinese people, right?
Right.
Asians. I'm not mad at that.
Mm.
They're unified. They're unified. The difference between our community and anybody else's community is not talent, not ability. The difference is they are unified, we are not. Now, I am not of the disillusion that every single Black person is going to be with us. We don't have to worry about every single Black vote.
Right. That's
All we
correct.
need to do is build a major block. And guess what happens? Even those people who might be defectors are going to say, I think I better go home. I think I better go over there and be with my people. And we welcome everybody in our family that looks like us.
Mm-hmm.
But if we start the nucleus and if we're consistent and we are committed, I'm saying to every single person that we will be able to break down these walls of inequity in our communities, from education to economics to everything in between. Whatever the issue that is important to you, we will be able to make those issues a
Mm-hmm.
priority. We will be able to make progress, significant progress in those areas that our communities are thriving, our communities are strong. We need to bring manufacturing back to our communities. We need to make these companies reopen these new uh, manufacturing companies in our community. They're building a $2 billion battery manufacturing plant out in Kankakee
Mm.
that's going to bring 1,500 jobs where people are earning $80,000, $90,000. Do you know that the average The average manufacturing salary today is $98,000.
Mm.
We can employ and bring the unemployment of our black males down by making them bring investments to our communities. Wherever you have high rates of poverty, you will have high rates of violence and high rates of crime. You have all the other negatives. Any communities that are thriving, where they have strong employment and strong economics, they don't have high rates of crime.
I agree.
They don't have high rates of crime. They don't have high rates of violence. They don't have high rates of domestic violence. So when you have people who are suffering, people tend to medicate their pain in
Hmm.
other areas, whether it be drinking, whether it be drugs, whether it be fighting with their spouses or their mates, or whether people are desperate and they go out and they're stealing because they need to eat. So it's not that people are inherently violent in our communities. What we have is an acute economic deprivation that exists and persisting in our communities because we have people who get into public office and they push agendas for other communities because we are not institutionalized, organized to put the kind of pressure on them that we can be a real threat to them to say, governor, mayor, alderman, state senator, state representative, United States congressman, we have the votes. We have the votes to determine whether or not you get back into office. We're not accepting excuses. We're not even writing you big checks
Hmm.
because we have the votes. And if you don't, then we will run our own independent candidate and we will select that candidate and elect them for that office. That is how you amass political power and you change the economic conditions of our communities.
Yeah.
When you have a strong economic community, all of the other areas, education, health, mental health, all of those areas, housing, they all improve.
I want to say something real quick, Mark. Um, People, we're going to ask a lot of you guys to join tonight. Join us in the first meeting, and I want to say, let's go in with the mindset is going to work. Mark Wallace have laid the blueprint out for us. It's there. All we have to do is believe and get up and get in action. Now, we draw strength off one another. I don't know everything, Mark don't know everything, but together, that block, that block. So we don't want to come in doubting this is probably not going to work. You know, our people, we can't stick together. We can't get nothing right. Speak for yourself. So we want to come in with the positive energy that this is going to work. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. We're going to have to put the work in. We're not asking you give a lot of money. We're not trying to rob you. We just want you, we need the bodies. We need the effort. So let us put in the effort. Mark have the expertise. He have the blueprint. I have the platform. Somebody else may have the expertise in this area. Let's do it, people. Let us put our differences aside and come together as a block and do what we need to do. Our race, if not, we're going to be in trouble. As Mark said, a lot of us have individual success, but as a group, as a body, not so. So tonight, we're going to let you know where our first meeting at, and we want to expect at least 200 people or more. Come, sign up, join. Go ahead, Mark.
All right. So Martin, if it's okay with you, I
Mm,
don't mind, answering some questions that people
okay.
have. if we need to do that. But let me just again, so the first meeting that we're going to have is going to be at the St. John's Missionary Baptist Church. That's at 211 East 115th Street. Martin had the flyer up. He had the flyer up. So to give you, we'll put it back up, and then if they want, I'll put it up on my Facebook page as well, Martin. But it's going to be at the St. John's Missionary Baptist Church in the Fellowship Hall. That's 211 East 115th Street, down in the lower level. It holds, he said it could hold up to 300 people. He asked me, how many people do we expect? And I told him, I don't know what to expect. I said, we could have 100, we could have 300. I would love to see us fill the place up, right? Obviously, we'd love to see that, because depending upon how many of us show up is really going to tell us whether or not this is something that we want to do. This is something that we want to do. And we will have meetings if we're getting the response and the commitment from us. Then what we will do is we will have meetings in different areas, because we have people who are from the West Side. I know Malcolm, who has a facility on the West Side that would allow for us to use his facility on the West Side of Chicago. So there are people who will facilitate us and allow us to use their spaces. And what is also powerful about that is that the word will get out to the politician that Black people are organizing a block.
Mm-hmm.
They're organizing a block across all of our communities, across all of our ward lines, our district lines, our community lines. This is not just for the city of Chicago. This is for all of our Black community, the city, the suburbs, wherever Black people live. We're working to build this block. And I can just tell you that if we do this, we will transform our communities for our people, because we will make those people who control the billions and billions of dollars that come out of the city of Chicago, that come out of the Cook County Commission, that come out of the state. I mean, our budget for the state is $48 billion. Our budget for the city is $20 billion. For the county is $18 billion. Billions and billions of dollars. We have to make sure that our communities get the kinds of reinvestment, and not just some incremental reinvestment. Our communities need billions of dollars of infusion in all of those areas of importance, that our people are thriving, that we have full employment.
And we don't, let me say this, we don't want no turkey, book bags, and backpack. We're not thinking like that, people. Just like they handed out millions of dollars to the migrants, we want billions to come in our reinvestment in our community. They have shown us that they can do it, and we want them to do it for us. And we're going to work for it. We're going to fight for it, people. We're going to believe that we're going to get it. And that's what we have to do. We have to put the work in, people. We have to put the work in. It's not about Mark lining his pockets up or me lining my pockets up. It's as a group. As a group.
Well, let me say this, because I really believe in transparency. Some people on here may have listened to me when I was on WVON radio station for about 12 or 13 years. No advocacy work that I do. I was on WVON for almost 12 or 13 years. I did a show 5 or 6 days a week. And doing a radio show, it's hard work. Yes, I've never been paid a single dollar for any of because that's not why I do it. No work that I have done and advocacy have I been paid a single dollar. I have a very, very good life economically, very stable. I'm very grateful to God that I've been in a real estate business for more than 43 years. I'm a private lender. I fund other real estate projects. So I don't need any money. I don't need any money personally.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever dollars, if we generate, whatever dollars we generate, which is not what we are even talking about at this point. What we need to see if there's a real commitment in our community to build this block. Any dollars that we raise will be used for expenses, for whether we have to pay for facilities or printing or if we get to that point, to select candidates that we're going to run.
Mm-hmm.
That's but that's down the road. Right now, we have to see if there is a real commitment of our people. Is there a real commitment of our people that we want to really build and amass this power that we have? Because we have the power, right? We
Right.
have the power. But do we want to amass it to make transformational change for our communities? Now, there is a project that would be transformational for our community. The city of Chicago gave $2.4 billion in TIF dollars to two big projects, multi-billion-dollar projects, Project 78 and Lincoln Yards, overnight almost. We've never had a $1 billion worth of investments projects in our communities. Never. We cannot continue to be disrespected that way, because the onus is really going to be up to us.
Mm-hmm.
That we have to have an insult level. We cannot settle, and we should not settle for what is happening to us. Now, let me just kind of reiterate this thing that's happening with the whole migrant situation. The dollars that are being expended for the migrant situation, that Governor Greg Abbott, that is illegally transporting people here, those dollars are being reimbursed to the city of Chicago from the federal government. But I don't want for us to get distracted by that. Let's not get distracted by that, because guess what's happening? While we're paying and people are emphasizing and paying attention to what's happening or protesting migrants, you have J.B. Pritzker and the General Assembly that have $19 billion that have come to the state of Illinois from the federal government for investments, for infrastructure that they're making plans for, and we're getting distracted because we're not organized to make demands to say, hey, wait a second, what about our communities? What about our Project 78? What about the South Suburban Airport that could be built and building thousands of jobs for the South region and the South side of Chicago? I'm talking about billions of dollars of investment that we need. I'm not a small idea person. I'm not a small vision person. I believe we serve a great God, and we are a great community, and our community deserves great investments.
Mm-hmm.
We pay dearly into the tax base. Our communities pay dearly into the tax base, but our communities are not reinvested dearly. They give us parties and festivals, and they
Mm-hmm.
show up you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the summertime, and we have a
Mm-hmm.
couple of jazz festivals and that sort of
It's
thing.
nothing.
And we, you know, get excited about that. Then we have to go back home and struggle
Mm-hmm.
and see the decaying of our communities. So what I'm saying is we are able to have it all. We're able to have it all. But in order for us to have it all, we got to do the work. And the work that we have to do is unifying ourselves and organizing ourselves. I'm not going to talk anymore. I think I've said enough. The bottom line here, Martin, is now it's time for us to show up at the game.
That's it.
Now it's time for us to show up. We have the facility available to us. Um, I'm sure that you'll continue to do your broadcasts and remind
Mhm.
people about that first meeting. And I think that that first meeting is going to be a
Critical.
tell
Yeah.
sign as to how serious we are and how important it is for us as a community to move forward, because it can't happen with just a few of us. It
No,
cannot.
no, no. Did anybody want to ask any questions or call in real quick? If not, because Mark have spoken, so I'll take a few calls. Y'all know the number 872-297-6389 or 872-299-0808. He's willing to take a few questions before we get off the air. And we're going to repost a flyer to make sure you guys, so we're going to meet. I believe it's on the 14th, right, Mark?
The 12th.
12th.
No, it's next
12th.
Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, 6:30. We're going to start at 6:30 sharp.
Sharp. Okay.
Right. I believe in starting on time and ending on time.
Okay.
So we're going to start at 6:30 sharp. We'll be out of there at 8 o'clock.
Okay. Perfect. Any callers? Not, we'll give you a few minutes to call in. 872-299-0808. If you want to ask any questions. He gave us a blueprint, people. All we have to do is follow it. All we have to do is stick together and follow it. Stay close. So we need power, people. We need power. We need power as a group, economic power. When we can change policies, we can put pressure on politicians from the highest level on up to the lowest local level. We can do it, people. We talk about, we complain. It's more than just going out there holding up signs and saying Black Lives Matter or this. I'm tired of making noise. I want to make a move. I'm good with making noise, but we got to have a finished product. I don't want to be like that little kid, mom fussing. Okay, we got to call. We got to call. So we're going to take that call. So this is it. Answer the questions. Maybe we're going to ask you a question. Answer the question. Let the callers hit a prompt real quick. They should be ready in a second. This first meeting is going to determine on the decision that we're going to make. All right, 0708.
Hi, Martin. I just want to say thank you. I respect your platform and everything. I do have a couple of questions,
Yes,
because we have been in these communities for years and we have been underserved. We have been neglected. We have put out our votes and they have turned our backs on us. So my question is, while all this is happening and everything, if all the migrants are being pushed into our community, what about the north side? Where are aldermen? Who's standing up for us and to say, hey, we're not going to have this? Who stood up and said, don't close our schools? I did lives all during the pandemic, and you probably have seen me. My name is Sabrina Neal. Mm-hmm. And this is unacceptable, that everything is being pushed on us, and we are already we're neglected. We are already struggling. Our mortgages, our rents have went up. Now we have this burden of the student loan. What are we to do? And now you want to put people in our communities to come in and take over everything in our, and our tax dollars. Come on now.
Mark.
So my question is, what do we, other than just banding together, we got to do more. We have to do more. We have to take back our businesses. We have to stand up. I have an online business. We have to start patronizing each other, just like they do in Chinatown and other communities.
But listen, the hardest thing about any project or any business or anything is getting started. And that's what we plan on tonight. We're planning on getting started with the first meeting. Now, things not going to happen miraculously all in one day. We know when you go out there and plant a seed, it just don't grow the next day. We know that. So we have to put the work in, sister. We have to put the work in.
And this is true, and I understand that.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mark.
But are we inviting any of these officials to these meetings also?
Well, no. Well, Sabrina, this is really not about the officials. This is about, first of all, what we're doing is we're building the people together. It's not about inviting officials. What we're doing now is organizing.
So it's about uniting.
It's about organizing first, and then when we do organize, and if we organize in the way that we envision ourselves and in the numbers that we have within our communities, I guarantee you, Sabrina, I guarantee you that if we organize, that's why we have to be laser focused on organizing first. When we organize, you won't have to worry about inviting officials. They will be calling to come because they now know and they are seeing that we're organizing in a way that we have never organized. We're institutionalizing ourselves.
And they're going to want that vote.
They're going to want that vote. And not only are they going to want that vote, they're going to now know that we have the power to determine whether or not they are elected or reelected. That's what
we just can't give these votes.
That's what having a block. That's what having a block does. That's why unions are so strong. So we're going to have our own union. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that, but we need to. When we organize, we have to make sure that we're positioning ourselves in places where we can really be seen. That north side needs to get some of this heat that the south side is getting.
So let me just say this, sister. Let me just say this. That's it. First, we have to lay a foundation. We have to be organized before it's a lot of work need to be done. Okay.
Oh yeah.
The scripture said iron sharpens iron. I'm using my platform.
And this is true.
Yeah, I'm using my platform. I'm giving you the tool that I have. I know I'm effective in my platform that God has blessed me.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Mark, he has the blueprint, the know-it-all in a sense. You might have connections on something else. We all come together. And if we all put it together, not only just making noise, we're going to get things done.
That's right.
Done.
And that's what it's about.
And we're gonna have a little inside arguments and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we have to lay down our differences and say what is best for the group, not the individual, the group. Because what we see out here, activists, politicians, and pastors, what's in it for me? And we see it all the time.
Exactly.
Some of the same people. I'm gonna let you go, Mark. Let Mark finish say something. Some of the same people that have been known to make noise. Excuse me, y'all know I don't cuss. Raise hell. You don't hear from them now because they paid off. They got something out the deal. Now they quiet.
Yeah.
This is not about.
Anytime someone's quiet, you know something went down.
Go ahead, Mark.
And it wasn't for our benefit.
All right. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm saying, Sabrina, we have to be laser focused on the basic fundamental now is organizing ourselves. North side, south side, wherever we live, we live predominantly on the south and west sides of Chicago and the southern suburbs. wherever we live. So we're starting out having the first meeting, and if that first meeting is a successful meeting, and the only way that it's successful is that people show up, right? That says to us and says to you and the rest of us, we are ready to organize. Then the next meeting we'll have on the west side of Chicago. Then the next meeting we may have out in one of the southern suburbs. As we are growing, we're going to have meetings in different places, and the goal is hopefully that we grow to such an organized numbers that we're going to have to rent a huge stadium someplace. Let me tell you.
Yeah, like the north side, because I one thing that I do not want anyone to get me wrong on is, that we're going to just do south side, west side, suburbs, things like that. The money is up north. They want people here and going to let people in, and undocumented, then they got to feel that heat just like we're feeling it. I'm not saying I don't want anyone coming over here, but I want our community to be notified. They haven't told us anything. They're just doing stuff. And that's not not cool.
You know why?
I don't like that at all.
Hold it, Sabrina. You know why they just doing stuff? Because we're not organized.
This is what I'm saying to you is that,
and we don't stand up.
Yeah, but Sabrina, listen to me. Please don't get focused on any particular side. Let's get focused on organizing.
No, it's not just.
Okay.
I get you. I do get you.
We're very familiar with
but
all of these.
But we need to put the pressure. Look where the money is. That's
my
statement there.
That's not correct. That's not correct.
Yeah, because we don't have money. Everybody wants to avoid the north side. No, we're not doing that.
We don't have to avoid
spread that out. They did it too.
Sabrina, you're not listening.
We have to put the pressure on.
I'm listening.
When we elect, we have to put the pressure on.
That's what he is.
Elect. No,
that's what he is. That's what he is.
No, the people that we are elect are not on the north side. The people that we are elect are in our communities. We've elected the people in our communities.
When we hit downtown area, just like when these kids went down there and did their thing down there, they start paying attention. And they're not going to pay attention to us if we're not hitting them at where their pockets at.
Okay, hold on. Sabrina, what are you saying hit? What do you mean by that? Explain yourself.
So when I say that, what I mean is if we're not going over there and protesting over there saying, hey, look, this just can't be happening in our community, and y'all living out on the hog, and it's clear and clean over here, over there, and not over
you here. You talk about protesting.
And not just that.
Sabrina, we haven't even got that protest. We're talking about
Sabrina. That was a wrong comment.
No,
you wrong gave statement, not protesting.
Listen, Sabrina.
Organizing.
You're right.
Organizing.
This is more than
organize. Hit every side.
Sabrina, let me talk. This is more than just making noise. We can go down and stop Lakeshore Drive and make noise. We can go to Michigan Avenue and make noise. Now, what would become of it? Are we going to get policy written? We on the news.
Good question.
We got signs held up. We land on the ground. Okay. And I do it. But I'm saying I'm tired of making noise and not getting no results. We have to get results. So what Mark is saying, he have the blueprint. Let's get organized first. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's get organized first. Then we can build. Let's give it a chance. Let's give it a chance.
Okay. I got you.
We need you there. We need you there.
Well, let's do it. I'm there.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm there.
We got another caller. We got another caller. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
We got another caller, Mark.
Thank you very much.
We got another caller. 6557. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Martin, it's Keena Nicole.
How you doing, Keena? Hey, Keena Nicole, what's up? How you doing? All right.
I'm good. How y'all doing today?
Well, we trying to be great. All right.
Good. So I just want to first and foremost say thank you to you, Martin, for sharing your platform with us so that the good news can get out and we can finally start making progress, in the right direction. And I also want to thank Mark for coming in on today and the other day too, and sharing his expertise. He didn't have to do that, and he did. I was sitting here listening, and I don't know if it's you or Mark or both, if you guys could help the group, right? And what I mean by that, everybody is talking about the migrants. I was one of them that talked about it too. And I heard so many times from you, Martin, and others, stay focused, don't get distracted, because certain things are going to happen, and you focus so much on this that you can't see everything else that's happening. Help me, help everybody else to know what we have to do to stay focused and not just look at this one thing, but look at the overall big picture. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I was sitting here thinking about that, and I said, I don't know if you can do it, Martin, by explaining it, or Mark, but help us so that we won't get so consumed, because we see on the news every day, they're 14 buses with immigrants coming. And it's oh my God, that's a lot of people. And then we get so caught up with all of the migrants coming that we forget that all of this other stuff is happening. So what do we have to do to stay focused? You understand what I'm saying? Help us with that.
And listen, let me just say this. I am super concerned about the migrants coming to Chicago. And my concern is, let me just say that my concern is, I don't want to see no one laying outside. Children, I don't care if you're black, white, whatever. I don't have that type of heart. But my concern is for the migrants is, why are the city of Chicago allowing migrants come in? They don't have nowhere to put them. That's my problem. But at the same time, I'm looking at the bigger picture. Down at City Hall, they passing out billions of dollars, making legislation and going in different areas while we worry about the migrants. And we should, don't get me wrong. Right. We should, but we have to watch. Listen, it's a distraction, people. It's a distraction. We're gonna be fussing and arguing and right. We got a right full. Don't get me wrong. We got the right to argue and be upset because we have homeless people along 290, all under Lord Wagner. That's true. But also, we just not only have a migrant problem, we have a problem in our community. Our communities need to be reinvested. And while we fighting and arguing, the City Hall, they passing legislations. And they sending money over here, money over there. And we're going to wake up, we're going to be sleeping under tents if we're not careful. But that's my way of breaking it down. Mark, I know Mark got a more political way than I do because he's more political inclined than I am. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, Martin, it's not that I have a more political way, because I think it's a fundamental. It's really not political. It's a fundamental at being focused at anything that you do. And everybody on here, no matter what your aspirations are or what you do, anything that you are good at doing, you had to be focused in doing it. You had to be committed. You had to be laser focused. And what I am saying is that all of those issues we know that are important, that we care about, that we're very concerned about, all of those issues are important, but we cannot impact them if we don't have the organized, unified strength to deal with those issues, to put the kind of pressure on whoever it is, wherever they are, whatever office that they're in, whether it's on the north side, south, wherever. You have to do first things first. Everything has a process. And in this process, the first part of the process is that we've got to organize ourselves together. Once we organize ourselves together and we see that developing, we will be able to impact those things. It's going to happen. If we don't organize, we will not be able to impact those things at the level that we need to impact them. Period. You can't get the cart ahead of the horse. And the first thing that we have to do is that we have to organize. and we have to stay laser focused on it. Don't get distracted by, which is the most visible thing now, is the migrants. Don't get distracted by it because it is a distraction. Because let me say to you, the migrant situation will eventually be handled. But while the migrant situation is being handled, they are still appropriating dollars for all of these other areas to govern our city, to govern communities, development, housing, mental health still needs to be addressed in our communities. And they are essentially ignoring that because we are not organized to put the kinds of threat on them to say to them, your attention, yes, you need to deal with the migrants. Now, I am a person, the scripture says that the earth is the Lord, the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein. That means the migrants too belong to God. We all belong to him. So we need to be focused on organizing ourselves together. And guess what? When we do that, beyond any shadow of a doubt, when we start organizing ourselves together, I promise all of us will start to see the results of the work that we have put in by organizing ourselves. You're going to see the very people that we are talking about, they are going to start responding to us like you've never seen them respond. There's an old saying that if you want something that you've never had, you've got to do something that you've never done.
Les Brown.
Come on, Mark. That's right.
Done is we have not organized ourselves to be able to prove to ourselves that we can make this happen. And we can. It's not rocket science. It's not hard. It just takes a commitment from each one of us to say, okay, we're in. We're going to reach out and we're going to bring, whether it's one or two or three or four or however many people that trust you, right? They trust you. And if you go to your network and say, look, I need for you, and I'm asking for you to come with me to go do this. They will trust you long before they will be me because they're not familiar with me. They're familiar with you, but they trust you even if they don't know all of the details. But because you're asking them to do it and they trust you, they're coming. And that's what all of us individually have to do, is to reach to our networks of people who trust us. Let's bring ourselves together and let's keep repeating that. And we will see all of these people who've been neglecting us, they will stand up and they will have a different perspective.
I want to say something, Mark. I was doing a documentary and I started the talk show with a little podcast I'm on, and the film director told me, he said, it's going to work, Martin, just give it time. It's working, Mark. It's working. It's working. And I'm saying this to the audience, to the platform. Let's give it time, people. Like Mark said today, we had to be razor sharp. Let's be on time so we can leave on time. Let's put the effort into it, people. We're not actually, you bring your pocketbook and purses right now. We just want to come together and work on this blueprint. That is already, we got the blueprint. It's laid before us. All we have to do is make a commitment. If we make that commitment, I'm going to make the commitment. I'm busy just like a lot of you guys are. But I have to stop and make this commitment because I want to see us win. I want to see us win as a group. I'm doing okay, people. I'm not super wealthy, whatever, but I'm doing okay. So I want us all to win. Because if we're not careful, people, divided we fall. I mean, united we stand, divided we fall. We need to put fear in the camp. Mark, I'm going to say this. I don't think I ever said this. I'm going to say it publicly. It's I think it's 3 people that I give myself accountable to. Now, take in mind, I'm not a part of no organization, really. But if 3 of these people that call me and say, hey, Martin, I think you was wrong. I need for you to straighten it out. I need you to shut it down. I'm going to do it, Mark, because I don't want nobody in my immediate circle to go along with me if I'm wrong. If you're my friend and you say you're my friend, you got to, when you see me wrong, you got to tap me on my shoulder and say, hey, Martin, you're wrong. I don't want nobody around me in my close circle and say, you Martin, man, you don't worry about it. You could laugh. No. So I give myself accountable to 3 people, Mark. 3. They can call me right now and say, Martin, you need to get off live. Straighten it up. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. So I make myself accountable to what I do. Earlier today in the live, I said, I'm real careful about spreading rumors on people. I'm still on the subject because I can lie on somebody and find out it's not true and come right back on here and apologize. But the damage is done already, people. So we have to be careful what we say. We have to consider one another's feelings and things like that. So my point is, let us give accountable. Let's be accountable to each other. Let us hold each other accountable. I'm willing to hold myself accountable. I don't need a lot of people to work, but I need you guys. In order for this block to work, we need each other, people. I could just say, you know what, Mark, I'm just going to do crime chasing my talk show and I'm done with it. Mark can say, well, I'm going to go continue work on my real estate and being on the radio. But we stopping, we taking time off. Mark is a married man. He a businessman, but he's stopping. There's nothing in it for him, people. He explained himself. What more could he say? He got the blueprint. It's already written down. Trust me. I talk to him just about every other day, if not every day. And I'm not going to allow Mark to come on here if I believe he was a fraud. In the bottom of my heart, I believe the man is right. He want to do what's right by his people. I'm not letting no fraud get on here and then all of us go follow him. Now, I might let you come on the platform. I don't believe in you, but I want to hear you out. But I don't believe in my heart's heart that this man is lying to us. Mr. Mark Wallace is lying to us. So I'm asking you, those that believe in me, come join and let's see what it's about. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, Martin, I say to everybody who is here, some people, may know me, others may not. But I say put me to the test, or put what I'm saying to the test. Just give it a chance. And somebody in the said, if the first meeting is not successful, we need to keep meeting. Yes. I will, and I'm sure Martin will as well. We will continue to do this as long as people are joining. I think we're having some camera issues here.
Okay.
But as long as you, the people, we the people, we're in. We're going to continue to do this. I know the camera's going out, but it doesn't matter as long as you can hear me.
I can hear you. I see you too. Okay. Go ahead.
So we're going to do this. We're not going to give up on this, because the only way that we give up on this, is if we, W-E, all of us give up on this. So we're either all going to rise together, meaning rise for our communities, or we're all going to fail together. It's not, that group over there. It's all of us. So all of us are responsible for whether or not it's successful. It's really up to all of us. So I think we've had You know, enough said. But if there's somebody else who has a question, I don't want anybody's question to go unanswered, Martin. So I'm okay if you're okay.
Okay.
Um, and because that's just how important I believe that this is to make sure that we answer anybody's questions, or if they have some apprehension, whatever it is, so that we can address it. But I just say, let's turn out at that first meeting and let's have standing room only, because what that will do is it will encourage everybody in that room. The more people that are in that room is going to encourage everyone in that room that we're on the right track. And hopefully we get to the place where wherever we're going to meet, that we don't have enough room and we'll have to go to a bigger facility. But what that's going to do is it's going to wake up every congressman, every alderman, every person who is in an elected office. I guarantee you, they're going to get word that the Black community is organizing a unified, unionized, institutionalized bloc. And they are going to want to come and present to us. Now, we are not going to have people coming to take over our organizing, right? They're going to come when we decide for them to come. But we're going to take the demands to them. We're not going to allow for them to come and co-opt our organizing. And please don't allow anybody to compromise you. Don't allow anybody to compromise you, because every single voice is significant to the strengthening of our people. Every single voice. We can't afford to lose anyone. So everybody is on equal footing and everybody is just as important. I cannot stress that enough. There's no big I's and little U's. We're all in this together for the strengthening of our communities. That's the reward for me. The reward for me is to see everybody who is in this chain and to see our communities thriving and people have opportunities in our communities. When we start to see our communities lifted on a daily basis, where we see crime going down, we see just thriving all over, then we can enjoy those festivals that we go to in the summer times just a little bit more, because we see real progress taking place in our neighborhoods where we live. We see Harvey, Markham, Robbins, Phoenix, those communities that's been neglected, disinvested for decades. Inglewood, parts of the South Side, parts of the West Side. Those communities, the North Side has been redeveloped 2 or 3 times since I moved to Chicago. I moved to Chicago in 1985. The North Side looked like little Cambodia in 1985. But right now, it's been redeveloped 2 or 3 times. We need to see that same thing happen on the South and West sides of Chicago. We need to see that same thing happen in Robbins. We need to see that same thing happen in Markham, wherever you live. They built another community from Roosevelt Road back to 22nd Street. All that development from State over to Lakeshore Drive was built in the last 20 years. We've not had anything significant like that in our communities. But organizing ourselves together, we will change that. Not that we can, we will change it. That is a guarantee. So it's up to us if we want to make that happen.
All right. We're going to end it right there, Mark. I'm going to post up the date, the time that we have in our first meeting, and we might meet again before the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll probably meet one more because we got to keep it fresh. It's
Yes.
like the scriptures. You might know God so loved the world that he gave his own begotten son, but sometime when a preacher get up and quote it again, it seemed like it hit different, so we had to get a refresh.
Yeah. Well, they
And
say an advertisement, you have to repeat it to somebody 4.5 times before they get it.
okay.
So I have no problems in coming back. I'm really excited about this. I'm looking forward to us having our first meeting. And again, someone said, that we have to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. As long as, there are people who are committed to doing it, we're going to keep doing it. So it's up to us to make it successful. Let's do that.
All right. Thank you, Kane and Nicole. Thank you so much. You already know what it is. Live, uncut, unedited. This is where we tell the truth and shame the devil. All right, black people. I love being black. Black people, you there? I love being black. All right. Good night. Thank you,
I
brother.
love being black.
That's right.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right.
brother Mark.
Good night. We'll see you next time.
Yes, Mark, I appreciate you, man, coming on here and calling me, man. And I'm in, brother. Count me in. As long as God give me strength and health, I'm going to use this platform to push this, especially for our people. And I always tell people, this platform is for the people. God gave it to me, and I want to use it wisely. Wisely. I'm not on here to call people names or try to embarrass people. I want to use it wisely. All right. And if it got to go down, it got to go down for the truth and helping our people.
All right, man. Right. I'm with you, Martin. Thank you so much, man.
No
we
problem.
Appreciate all that you do. I know we do. Okay.
Thank you. Good night, y'all.